We're back, Gordo.
We're back.
RacingRant on tour, and we've nabbed the CEO of BetFair. How did we do that?
Nabbed the biggest guy in Australian gambling.
One of the tallest guys as well.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Tim Moore-Barton, welcome to RacingRant.
Thanks, guys.
How you going?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
You're putting on a good show for us tonight, but we're keen to know, firstly, where you came from to be in charge of this, well, very, very integral and important betting organisation.
Yeah, well, look, as soon as I open my mouth, you can tell I'm a POM. So I was with BetFair in the UK, and I joined that business 10 years ago. Was lucky enough to be around the founding members, so Bert, who was the brainchild of BetFair, Ed, who was the kind of hard-nosed business guy that made it work. Worked in that business for 5 years, took it through the IPO, saw it change a lot, and then for a bunch of reasons moved to Australia, and now I'm back and running this business, so having lots of fun.
All right,
So your background was business or betting?
A bit of both, so engineering, so maths, I get the numbers side,
yeah.
into management consultancy because I didn't know what I wanted to do, quit that, didn't like the rat race, was running a bar in France.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Get out
in
of
the
here.
ski slopes?
Ski slope.
Yeah.
So all of the core skills you need in our industry. But actually, so I was in the Alps and I was looking for a business that was high growth, something I was passionate about, something that was different.
Yeah.
And someone who knew me and knew BetFair at the time said, Tim, have a look at these guys. I didn't actually know of BetFair then, it was 2006. Probably should have done if I'd done my homework. But as soon as I knew about it, I was just like, this is the job for me.
Yeah.
So joined as an analyst, that was 10 years ago.
Wow. And why the move to Australia? Yeah.
Look, I think that was a mix of a couple of things. I think the UK business, yeah, like I said, it was founder-owned, mid-sized, private, high growth. You take it through an IPO and the businesses are very different. They become very short-term focused.
Yes.
And look,
So
BetFair's
we'll get run differently, is that what you're saying?
run differently. BetFair's been a massive success story. Like, it was a really positive listing and it's gone from strength to strength, but it just changed. So I think a combination of that and for me doing something different, moved outside the world.
Well, we see it in big business all the time, isn't it? Short-term spreadsheets are so important for share price, where making commitments for 10 years down the track is a hard thing to do. So how do you handle that? Because Australia is more like a long-term plan for you guys, yeah? So what are you doing to sort of like hit that 10-year goal? What is the 10-year goal?
Yeah, look, I mean 100%. So I think the reason I absolutely love my job and the position that we're in at the moment is it's like that original business that Bert and Ed had. So we're doing things for the long term, we're small enough, we're hungry, there's still heaps of room for improvement.
Yeah.
The ownership structure is important, so we're wholly owned by Crown, but we're run very much as our standalone business. So I've got a great board in Crown who give me a very long leash to run the business for the long term.
Yep.
So all of the decisions that we make are not to be short-term greedy, but long-term greedy.
So BetFair UK, what power do they have over you here?
So the relationship's bedded down pretty well. So we've got a B2B relationship. We have shared global liquidity. Because as you imagine, like, liquidity is king. You wouldn't want to dilute that.
Yeah.
But we are completely standalone. So we pay them a royalty, we share liquidity, but everything else is us.
So, for example, if a person in England is betting on Australian racing, what happens?
We're hoping that an Aussie punter is smarter and winning off them.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
That's how it works.
Let's see if we can help you
and
out.
does that happen?
It does.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's great about our business is we have like a fundamental principle of what we're trying to achieve, which is to increase the wagering IQ. So we're trying to make Aussie punters. We're the only operator in the industry trying to do that. So when we see our customers win off rest of the world customers, it's great.
It's good for you.
It's good for our punters and we make more money.
What a fantastic setup for like our clients out there, us being gamblers, isn't that we're involved with a company where if we win, they win? Like, it's symbiotic, isn't it? You know, like...
Yeah, I mean, and look, you know, our mission statement is to champion winning, but it's fundamental to our business model, kind of what we stand for, all of the activities. So, you know, you've seen the BetFair Hub, you've seen the, you know, VIP program. We're trying to make punters smarter with data, with technology.
Okay,
It's
well,
great.
I've got a question. I mean, obviously you've got a lot of big guys out there that are winning a lot of money, but you did say you want to sort of like increase the education and winning capacity of people that are maybe a little bit further down the level. So what kind of things are you doing to increase their knowledge? I know you mentioned the hub, but I know a lot of the courses that I go to, I see the same blokes all the time. You know what I mean? Like you got to get the new
Usual suspects.
Yeah.
How do you
suspects.
widen the net?
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, this is a challenge because BetFair's not for everyone. You know, if you're a really recreational punter, you know, you're having $10 on a horse or on your footy team because you like the Silks or you barrack for that team, we're not for you, and we're not trying to be for everyone.
Okay.
But I think there's a tipping point, and I think slowly the industry and the sector will get smarter. And it really starts from, you know, as simple as if you take the BetFair starting price 10 minutes before the jump, you're almost certain to get a better price than what's available there then. All the way through to if you host your bot, your technology in a data center, and remove latency, you can try and snip that tiny little advantage. So there's a big spectrum, but there's some pretty easy access points to just start being smarter.
I mean, just for example, but you say like it's not the focal point, but a guy out there who is a $10 to $100 punter, if he puts that bet on Betfair SP, you're suggesting in the long run he's going to be better off.
Yeah, so we got a good stat. So the last calendar year, 2017, if every bet that you placed on Betfair's starting price over the best tote, you'd be 15% better off. And that's inclusive of the top rate of commission that we charge.
Okay, so that's worked off 10. Oh, well, 10 in New South Wales, yeah?
Yeah.
But what about manipulation? You know, what about somebody who has a big bet, Betfair SP, and wants to, or lays a significant amount of money and wants to manipulate that Betfair SP? How do you stop that occurring?
Yeah, so it just doesn't happen. We only offer SP on liquid markets, so you don't see it on some place markets, on some racing that's not got kind of TV coverage.
So what's the threshold? Is there a threshold?
The threshold is when we don't offer it. So the markets that we offer, you can't manipulate.
Okay.
But it's, you know,
it's that random.
No, so we look at it, you know, we constantly look at liquidity. Liquidity, like I said earlier, is king for us.
Yeah.
So we do a lot to try and drive that, and it's, you know, hopefully punters have really seen that improve.
Okay, so the driving factor is that you guys want to use this as marketing as well. And if the Betfair SP ends up not performing to those particular levels, then you'll have to reassess. So that gives some sort of security about Betfair SP, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
I spoke to our, you know, a guy who knows our business incredibly well. So our director of analytics and insight. Another POM, guy called Rob, super smart guy. He says 100 times out of 100, he would bet someone dinner that the Betfair SP is going to give them a better price than the best tote, or than the available back price 10 minutes before the jump.
So we know.
And he'll be
know
eating an awful lot of dinners.
We know this. Isn't your challenge to actually communicate that fact?
Yeah.
It's all very well us who know about Betfair, talking amongst each other about how good Betfair is.
Yeah.
But the challenge is actually to communicate that fact wider, isn't it?
No, look, I think that the thing here, and I think our marketing team are doing a great job, and we've got this community of punters who get it. Like you said, you go to events, you see the same guys week in, week out.
Yeah.
You've got great shows like this with engaged punting audiences.
Yep.
This is what we're building. And when I said it's really exciting to be in this role in this business, is because there's heaps of upside. There is. You know, we've probably got 5% market share. We should have 35.
So so how does you work with Betfair UK? What's its market share there?
Yeah, probably about the time that I left, they were about 30%. And that market's moved and changed a lot. And the UK punting kind of culture is very different. It's very much fixed odds. You know, you go to any
no total loss and stuff.
Any town, you've got a Ladbrokes, a William Hill, a Betfred, a Coral, and they're all talking price.
Yep.
You come here, you've got tote not talking price because the prices aren't great.
Yeah.
So I think there's heaps of upside for Betfair, even for the guys who aren't trading, who aren't backing and laying, who aren't using automation, just to get a better price. And that's what's exciting, and that's what we're starting to build.
So when you arrived, sorry to pull you back from some of the positive things that you're looking at. When you arrived, was there one or two or five things that just had you tearing your hair out straight away going, God, this is a big challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I I came probably without doing enough research on the market. So I was surprised at the racing sport split. In the UK it's 3/4 sport, 1/4 racing. Here is the opposite.
Yeah.
And I was gobsmacked when I found out how much we pay in fees to the industry. So in the UK you pay a horse racing levy, it works out about 10%. Our blended rate of fees that we pay back to racing bodies across Australia is 40%.
Yes.
So it's 40% before GST, licenses.
It's 40% of your gross.
Of our revenue. So for every $100 of revenue I have, 40's gone, another 9 goes in GST, another 1 thereabouts goes in our wagering tax, so that's half, and then you've got to run the business. So marketing, technology.
Operating.
So you're doing a lot of earning for the racing bodies.
Yeah.
And how does that compare?
This is just what drives me bonkers about here. But it's all about like the money going to the goddamn breeders. That's what it's all about. We're
how much
getting
of the
sucked
corporate
dry so they can
bookies
offer more
pay?
prize money so that people who have $1 million horses can take the money home.
I know, look.
It's just disgusting.
It is disgusting. What are we going to do about it, Gord? How are we going to get this fixed?
Oh, I believe you've got an idea, mate. I don't know. I'm just going to play the game.
40% of your revenue is going to
Back to race, straight back to racing.
Racing industry.
Yeah.
How much of the revenue of the other competitive
of
entities? How much of their revenue is going to?
So corporate bookmakers, they're a high margin product. So the way that they pay race fields works out, they're probably paying around 20%, so roughly half.
And the tab?
Less again, higher margin product. The TAB is different because they pay the luxury to have a retail monopoly and exclusivity to do retail.
Yep.
But again, the way the maths works out, as a
Yeah.
percentage of revenue, we pay more than anyone else.
Yeah. You pay much more.
The challenge that we've got is we're not really competing against the TAB or your sports bets, your Crown bets, your William Hills. Our punters are price sensitive, they're smart, so they're either betting with us or they're betting offshore.
Look, I know this,
offshore guys
but I
just don't
know,
pay,
but I know that they're spending a lot of money on marketing to get the little guys involved. But what I'm saying is, the little guy involved, when he's sitting down the pub having a few beers and a bet on his phone, which everybody's doing right now, if he gets $10 when his mate sitting next to him back the same horse and got $8, he's going to catch on pretty quick.
Yeah.
But how?
Look, I think the corporates are pretty smart. Odds Boost tries to make it a bit opaque. We've just, I think we're doing a series called The Truth, dispelling all the myths about Odds Boost, about kind of the fold, the very high margin mechanisms for bookmakers to make more money.
Yes.
But the guy in the pub betting $10 wants convenience. So look, we're going to get there, and that's why I'm excited, because there's upside for us.
Well, it's just an app on your phone. It's not hard to do these days, is it? Seriously. I find it actually difficult to bet on my phone on BetFair. I don't think it's streamlined enough.
No, look, and that's where kind of we put our hands up and say we're not doing a good enough job. We've got exciting stuff coming. We'll see some racing improvements to navigation to get there quicker. Coming out the next couple of months. And there's a very good debate going on across my team as to whether we just redo the whole thing. I'm sure that'll be music to some people's ears.
Yeah.
I don't want to promise.
But you're the one that's got to sign the check.
Yeah. But look, the reality is, and the reason that we don't go mass market in marketing is we're very low margin, and we're trying to run this business for the mid to long term. If we're short term, we could raise our prices, but we know that our punters are price sensitive, and they're just.
Well, there you go. You've got New South Wales punters paying 10% commission.
Yep.
What are you going to do to help those people? Because that's
have you changed legal firms in the near past? How did you lose the case? That's what we want to know. Every punter out there wants to know. How did you lose?
Me too. Well, I was in Sydney at the time because I was a commercial guy. Then I just moved to Australia. So 2012, I was with a key account manager and a PR manager. We were in the opera bar, ready to celebrate, and instead we commiserated.
Wow!
I'd literally been in the business a few months. But for me, I spend over half my time is educating regulators, politicians, journalists on what we do and why we're different.
Yeah.
And It's a bit of a complicated message to get across, but the penny drops and they have that aha moment.
So I suppose we've got to realise that, don't we? Because we're in the game, for us it seems obvious, but for those other people out there...
Also, they don't want it to be obvious, do they?
But you talk
don't
back,
really want to have to change anything.
They just throw it in the $2 bucket. We're making too much money out of the tab.
And there's a pretty powerful group, the other side of the fence, lobbying against us. Who you might have just mentioned. So that's the challenge for us. We're very transparent. We're not playing games. We use lots of data to show we increase our prices, growth drops.
Yep.
It's actually another great data point. Since we've increased our prices in New South Wales, as opposed to Victoria, we've had 6 times higher rate of growth in Victoria than New South Wales.
That's
6
massive.
times.
Yeah.
So what is your revenue share split in Victoria as compared with New South Wales? You mentioned 40 cents in the dollar.
Yeah.
But it must be different across between Victoria and New South Wales.
So there's a couple of things. There's rate and there's model. So you're paying on revenue or turnover. So I look at everything as a blended rate of revenue because then it's apples with apples.
Yep.
So in Victoria we pay 35% of revenue.
Yep.
So still pretty high, but like a third of our revenue. That for us is a good price outcome. In New South Wales, before we made the pricing change, we would be paying 71%. 71% of revenue, so we'd be loss making. So we had to make a pricing change. Even after that pricing change, we pay 50% of revenue back in fees to Racing New South Wales.
Okay.
So half our revenue.
Okay, now the big question is, why don't you play hardball? Like, you seem to be very passive copying these things on the chin in New South Wales. A lot of people suggest to me, well, if BetFair pulls out, everywhere will notice a drop in turnover because you guys don't exist. So you could say, no, we're stopping for 3 months. You check the figures after 3 months and then we'll negotiate.
Yeah, it's nerves of steel and it's a balancing act. You know, the reality.
You're still hoping you can negotiate your way out of
the reality is the way we operate is data and transparency. So if you pull out, you don't have any data. If you increase prices, customers show their price elasticity. They move with their feet. You have 6 times as much growth on this product to this one. You go back to the regulator, whoever will listen.
Yeah.
And it's stark. Like, it's very transparent.
All right. So
Okay.
at the end, let's say for example the year 2000. When did the rate go up to 10%? July?
Recently.
July 2017.
Yeah.
So if you go for financial year 17, how much were you paying Racing New South Wales, for example?
In dollar terms, or
So
over that period, it was half the revenue that we made, and we don't break it out.
not
Yeah,
percentages
okay.
there, from Racing New South Wales, are they getting more now? You see what I mean? So has turnover dropped enough in order for them to see an effect on the amount they're getting out?
Yeah, so we're waiting for the full year number, because what tends to happen is, you know, some of our customers have algorithms, they have models in place. It takes a while for them to change that.
Yep.
So it's not a ship that can be spun around 180. But we've absolutely seen big customers drop off entirely because
you're expecting
their model's not profitable anymore.
You're expecting to go to Racing New South Wales in August and say, for the last financial year, we paid you $100,000 less than we did the year before.
Yep.
And
compare that to a jurisdiction that understands the importance of a vibrant betting exchange, you can see that
it's
relative
even
growth.
bigger than that, because if you guys are just on par, it's still a loss to the industry because there's follow-on turnover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How are
you going to argue that to them, because they won't see that?
Well,
you know,
we do. I mean, I've got the same slide deck.
They'll only understand
over and over again. The other data point that we've got is when BetFair is down, whole of industries. So I think, Gordo, we've spoken about this, but I think it's my first Warner Ball as CEO. I'm in the betting ring, talking to the on-course guys, you know, puffing my chest out a bit. Hi, I'm Tim, shaking a few hands. And then on day 3, we had a tech glitch and BetFair was down for the entire day. If you look at industry-wide turnover, excluding BetFair, day 1 and day 2, growth was around 15%.
Yep.
And day 3, when we were down, industry-wide turnover was down 2%. This is excluding BetFair.
Yeah.
So, you know, the on-course bookies were fuming because they haven't got BetFair to help them either lay off or inform price.
Yep.
Every trading floor of all the corporate bookmakers, you know, there's no the fair feeding in. And punters, you know, punters, even if they're not betting with us, they're using us as a price point to say, oh, I've seen a movement there, I'm going to try and take a price over here.
BetFair gets the market moving. I do quite like it because there are ways to actually use BetFair to change other people's prices as well. But that's the game we play, isn't it? So,
so Racing Victoria will have observed that and taken note of that. I presume Racing New South Wales, it's Warrnambool, it's not us.
It's hard to get the message through. There's politics and there's sort of choosing not to listen.
But are you like mates with Peter Volantis? You must chat to him.
We try to. I wouldn't put us in the mates category.
Okay.
And look, Peter's a smart guy, but I think he's got his agenda. And that's what we're trying to work to get the same outcome. Because we want the best for our
what is
punters.
the tone of those exchanges? Because I imagine that you would actually have to engage with him rather than lecture him, for example.
100%, but Betfair as a business is pretty low ego. We genuinely want the best for punters. And when you understand that and understand our model and how we support on-course punters more broadly.
That sounds like a puff piece to me when a corporate CEO says we generally want the best for our customers. There's a lot of people going, fucking porky pies out there. But the thing is, as I mentioned before, it's symbiotic, yeah?
100%.
You guys make money, we make money. That's why you're not a bookmaker, you're an exchange site.
I can say that with a hard commercial edge, because it's how we make money, as opposed to because it's a nice thing to do. The great thing is it's both. So
what about the premium charge? It's one of those things that's been vexatious since it was introduced. We spoke to Andrew Twaits on the Punters Show many years ago, and he
blame him.
So where does Betfair sit with the premium charge, and how can you justify, I suppose, that particular aspect of your business?
Look, it's a really interesting one. The majority of customers who complain about the premium charge are nowhere near paying it. Like the way that their models are working or their profitability, even if they got X times better, they're nowhere near paying the premium charge.
So they're just scared, are they?
I think they get quite emotive about it because
they're working on very low margins. So any tiny bit of
the reality is that premium charge was brought in to try and level the playing field, because we had some customers that were so efficient and so good at what they do that for almost the other 99% of customers, it was hurting them. So it was a bit of a Robin Hood tax to take from them to then reinvest in marketing and technology to make the whole thing better for everyone. Look, whether we've got...
Jesus Christ, you're starting to get a bit Jesus Christy here. Like
Robin Hood.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm in Sherwood with bow and arrow.
You'll be in tights next week too.
Green tights,
skiing? Do you wear the fast stuff or do you wear the baggy stuff?
I'm hiking, not skiing.
Oh, you're hiking?
No,
well, that's it. It's summer, isn't it?
Yeah. I've been in some BetFair boardies. Which, Gordo, you should be in a pair.
Yeah, I should too, shouldn't I? I've got a picture of Mark.
Yeah.
We will be posting Mark in the hotel room in Crown Casino in his BetFair boardie. And I tell you what a physique. Yeah. Far too much time in front of a computer, I'd say.
But I mean, just finishing off on PC, premium charge, legitimately the customers that pay it, they might not like that they pay it, but they understand the reasons and they pay it and pay it sustainably ongoing.
All right, so I guess a measure of that would be how many people, once they attract the premium charge, stop using Betfair?
Oh, a handful.
And how many people?
Yeah, but are they really big handfuls? You know what I mean? Like, are they guys turning over?
Not really, because if you're that sophisticated and operating at that scale, you can't bet elsewhere, because you can go offshore to non-licensed bookmakers. But like I said, the big guys, they understand it and they pay it.
But what it is, it just help for me. It's just like them paying the premium affects liquidity. Like, and particularly things, a lot of guys out there are getting really interested in betting in run and place betting. Now, Betfair markets at the moment aren't liquid enough in those particular areas. Are you doing anything to solve that problem?
So the main thing is trying to find customers with some smarts who are market makers and looking to incentivize them to put money up.
All right, so what can you do to it? How do you incentivize them?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got pricing levers, we've got the discount rate.
Yeah.
So anywhere between 0 and 60% on your Betfair points.
Yeah.
So if the...
Right, so one of your guys would be ringing them up saying, look, you know, we want you to get active in this market. How would you feel if we
and look, sometimes customers approach us, so shout out there to anyone who thinks they're smart. And look, again, like a nice symbiotic thing is some punters find if they frame a market and put some prices up, not with massive liability, maybe at 130, 140%, but they're up early enough. When the intel that they get from seeing what prices get taken, how the market moves, they might then go again just before the off.
Yeah.
So like, it's a very individual thing because people have different models and different approaches, but it's trying to work with punters
Okay,
to improve.
that's sort of like I'm not talking about your business particularly, but those that are actually doing that with putting up their own early prices, they're doing it like Pinnacle does it. So Pinnacle are using people who bet with them to frame their markets to get their markets more correct. So that's an
everyone's looking for intelligence.
Yeah, and they don't have to pay form analysts. Their form analysts are the people that bet with them. I love that idea.
Yeah, it is a very pure idea, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's old school bookmaking, isn't it?
It is.
That's what it is.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I've said I think a couple of times already, liquidity is king. We are. Yeah, I mean, you'd have seen over the last couple of years, overrounds have got better and better, liabilities have increased. I get the point around place markets are still pretty thin, sometimes in play, but if you compare where we are now to where we were, it's chalk and cheese, and it's going to keep getting better.
Okay.
All right, we'll let you get to your function, and
Thank you.
we'll
You're
wrap
going to
it
get
up
the
here.
boardies on?
The boardies. Oh my God! No, you don't want to see the boardies. Seriously. I got a massive hassle because I leant over and because normally the camera. Oh, see, the camera's high. The camera's normally low, so it hides my bald spot. But when I posted the photo of myself in the boardies, I was all devined up. I got it big time.
The sun's come up.
I'm sunburnt right now.
It's all shiny.
Oh, well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers.
See you guys.